Up next on The Reveal.
I want to know what happened to my son. I think I deserve to know what happened to my child.
The Reveal uncovers a deadly trend at Georgia facilities licensed to care for the mentally disabled.
It begs the question about what's the state going to do?
It's one of Atlanta's most notorious unsolved murders. Why has this case been so hard to solve?
3 people can keep a secret if 2 of them are dead.
Could side rails on semi-trucks save lives? A grieving mother takes on the trucking industry.
I always think about when I'm driving next to one, how easy it is to go under. Could she have survived? Why do some people survive crashes and some not?
From our Midtown studios in Atlanta, The Reveal begins now with investigators Faith Abube and Brendan Keith.
Welcome to The Reveal, a show where our investigations are making an impact.
A Reveal investigation has uncovered an increase in unexpected deaths at licensed Georgia facilities that care for the mentally disabled. This is happening as the state is fighting to withdraw from federal oversight of its mental health care services after years of insufficient care. And now families of the deceased say our findings reveal Georgia isn't ready.
Matthew was wonderful, sweet, very compassionate.
At an early age, Matthew Bowler never shied away from attention or showing affection.
He would always give me big old hugs.
His mother, Dorothy Berry, says he excelled in sports.
Matthew played football, basketball, and baseball. And he was a champ at each sport.
But when Matthew turned 19, something changed. Something wasn't quite right. What happened?
He started changing. He started getting quiet, staying more to himself.
In 2016, an argument with his sister led to a fight, breaking car windows. A judge ordered a mental evaluation, and a doctor diagnosed Matthew with schizophrenia. A short time later, the 22-year-old Stone Mountain man was sent here, Georgia Regional Hospital, a state-run facility which treats mental illness. Barry was nervous about the idea.
But I wanted my son to get better. I wanted to find out what was wrong with him. I wanted to know what was going on with him.
Turns out she had good reason to worry. 6 months later, staff found Matthew unresponsive in his bed, dead. A 2017 state investigation shed little light into what happened.
They tell me that Matthew was woke at 6 to take medication. Autopsy said, and the state said that when they touched Matthew, he was cold to the touch. Now, if your body cold to the touch, I'm sure you had to be dead for a while.
The investigation cites conflicting reports of Matthew's time at Georgia Regional. Some staff said he was taking his medication, even smiling months before his death. But the report also indicates Matthew was so miserable, he begged to go back to jail and tried to hang himself. The medical examiner's office ruled Matthew's death not entirely clear, unexpected. Are you okay with potentially never knowing what happened to your son?
No, I'm not okay with that. I want to know what happened to my son. I think I deserve to know what happened to my child.
A Reveal investigation uncovered similar deaths ruled unexpected have increased nearly every year at Georgia facilities licensed to care for the mentally ill. Since 2014, more than 500, according to state records.
I did not know about those numbers. Those numbers are astonishing when you look at them on any level.
Eric Jacobson is the executive director of the Georgia Council on Developmental Disabilities, an advocacy organization.
It begs the question about what's the state going to do, what are providers doing, why is this happening, and what can be done to rectify the situation.
The state's poor treatment of its mentally disabled stretches more than a decade, from dozens found dying at state hospitals in 2007 to a U.S. Justice Department lawsuit that led to federal supervision of Georgia's mental health care services today. According to a 2018 report submitted to a judge by an independent reviewer, Georgia continues to take too long investigating deaths, saying until fixed, the system cannot be described as effective.
We don't think that we need federal oversight anymore.
Judy Fitzgerald is the commissioner of the Georgia Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities. She says the state has overhauled its mental health services since the lawsuit and wants federal supervision to end. Why should the public trust you that you can move forward protecting these vulnerable populations when that independent reviewer says you haven't quite done it yet?
What she has said is we're not doing it fast enough. When we do a review, and I will stand by our department's work, we have very, very thorough and comprehensive policies and protocols about what happens when a vulnerable individual experiences an incident anywhere throughout our system. We just believe we don't need federal oversight to continue that work.
Do you agree with that?
No, I think that the DOJ needs to be remain here.
And these are just little pictures I had of them.
A family searching for answers, haunted by memories of a son begging for help.
When I would call him, I could hear him kind of crying in the background, telling me to get him out of there.
Did the state have anything to say about Matthew's unexpected death?
Because of privacy laws, the state says it cannot discuss his treatment or any additional findings. According to the investigative report, at one point a hospital administrator substantiated staff neglected Matthew, but they won't provide any details of that neglect.
Andy, do we have any idea when we'll find out whether federal oversight of Georgia's mental health care system will end or continue?
No, the state has made it clear that they want federal oversight to end. The Justice Department is not commenting.
Coming up on The Reveal, a closer look at two of Atlanta's most notorious cold cases.
That was kind of when the Atlanta metropolitan area lost its innocence. All of a sudden, where you once thought you were safe, you weren't.
If you have a news tip or a comment on one of our investigations, email us at thereveal@11alive.com.
Welcome back to The Reveal. A young woman vanished from the parking lot at Lenox Square Mall, and the woman who replaced her at work was found murdered, her body stuffed in the trunk of her car. Those two cases happened more than 50 years ago, but they remain unsolved tonight. Someone got away with murder.
One of Atlanta's most notorious unsolved murders.
The disappearance of Mary Shotwell Little.
25-year-old Mary Shotwell Little was married only 6 weeks when she disappeared on a shopping trip to Atlanta's Lenox Square, October 14th, 1965.
Lenox Square Mall, an Atlanta landmark and the scene of the city's coldest cold case.
This is 1965. You're looking at Lenox Square. Mary's car was originally parked and left here, where that white car is.
Her blood-stained car with some of her underwear was discovered in the same parking lot 2 days later.
The car had been moved 22 spaces.
And there was blood in the car.
There was blood in the car.
The only clue, a blood-stained car.
There was blood on the headrest that had been smeared, blood against the window, blood against the door panel, blood on the steering wheel with a fingerprint in the steering wheel.
Every turn took me to another theory, another clue, another dead end. Just when you think you might know what happened, think again.
Cold case investigator Jessica Knoll researched and recorded the 11 Alive podcast, 5 Roses.
Right before she vanished forever, she received roses at work from an unknown admirer.
It visibly upset her, and she threw them in the trash.
Almost afraid of the roses. That was the feeling I got from one of the reports.
The girl that took her place at C&S Bank a year and a half later turned up dead in the trunk of her car.
That's where the car was found, right there.
This is approximately the location where Diane Shields' car was found May 20th, about 2:30 in the morning by one of our patrol units, 50, 60 feet down, facing out, facing back this way.
East Point officers spotted blood leaking from a '63 Chevy. Inside the trunk, the body of Diane Shields, beaten and strangled, 18 months after Mary Shotwell Little vanished from her bloody car.
After she went missing, Diane Shields took her job at the same desk. It's a striking coincidence that two women had held the same job within a year and a half. both came to some untimely end.
That wasn't the only coincidence. Mary and Diane also had the same roommate.
Army reservists were activated to search the woods around what was then a rural area next to Lenox.
But something else disappeared without a trace. Evidence and crime scene photos from both cases.
The blood samples from the car are MIA, as are the photographs.
Some of the reports, some of the files, interviews, physical evidence was gone.
The work of the original investigators who spent their lives trying to solve death.
Stubbs is dead, Banks is dead, Roberts is dead, Shipp is dead, Wilson is dead.
The grandson of a former East Point detective rediscovered a copy of the Diane Shields case file years later in his basement.
This was taken off the quarter panel of the car,
including a fingerprint from Diane's car that remains unidentified. The biggest clue in Mary's disappearance is still her signature on a credit card receipt in North Carolina, where a gas station attendant saw a woman alive but covered in blood in the passenger seat before her empty but blood-stained car was found at Lenox Square.
Why take her to North Carolina? Why have a living victim in the car for 4 hours to 20 hours? All they have to do is get a flat tire, get pulled over by the state patrol, get pulled over by a sheriff's department, have an accident, and then he's got a victim sitting in the car screaming. Makes no sense.
There's no way to see through the smokescreen of time, to peel back the years to the moment Diane was murdered or to when Mary disappeared.
That was kind of when the Atlanta metropolitan area lost its innocence. All of a sudden, where you once thought you were safe, you weren't. People realized that they were vulnerable.
So where do these cases stand? Are they still open?
Technically, Faith, they are still open, but the only people actually investigating are part of an unofficial task force made up of current and former police officers, an attorney, and others who spend their spare time trying to solve Atlanta's most notorious cold cases. Also, Jessica's podcast, 5 Roses, it is already generating leads as people across the nation once again ask, who killed Diane Shields and what happened to Mary Shotwell Little?
Up next, safety experts say side rails on semi-trucks could save lives. So why aren't they mandatory?
The more I found out, the more frustrated I got. Why do some people survive crashes and some not?
Accidents involving big rigs are some of the worst on the nation's highways.
But a grieving mother says the number of fatalities could be decreased if the trucking industry valued safety more than cost.
She was just incredibly talented with the way she connected with people. She was a Texas gal through and through. I had her my senior year in college, so we kind of grew up together.
Krista Hammock never went a day
It was texting or it was a call.
without hearing from her girl.
She says, okay, this is such a beautiful picture of you.
Last contact was Oaks 2018.
Hope you have the best day. I love you. And I said, thank you. I wish you were here.
Dressed up, having a blast in the grandstand in an instant.
And I got the call from her dad about an hour to post.
The roar of the crowd muted
I'm like, what's going on? And he explains that there was an accident.
as she tried to process the terrible news.
All I could think about was, I don't know what to do. I don't know the protocol, who to call. I don't know, should I call my mom? Should I tell my friends? You know, I didn't know.
1,000 miles away, about an hour outside Austin, on a wet 4-lane highway, a semi going the opposite direction somehow lost control and crossed over sideways.
The girls had nowhere to go, and they slid underneath and died instantly.
With her friend, 26-year-old Jordan Hensley driving, Erin was in the front passenger seat.
She was unviewable, which meant I couldn't touch her, not her hand, not see her face. That she would be in a bag and you can't even see her.
Erin was only 22 years old.
There was nothing to stop them.
On the rear of a truck, a metal bar is required by law to help stop what are called underrides. However, the sides are open. as Hammock said, with nothing to stop them.
Could she have survived? Why do some people survive crashes and some not?
That's the question she will always live with.
Yeah.
After seeing for herself in March in D.C.
I just hope this will help.
Crash tests without and violent impacts with side safety skirts, as well as angel wings.
The more I found out, the more frustrated I got.
Tears quickly dry up when Hammock discusses the roadblocks to Senate Bill 665.
There's not been a whole lot of anything but lip service on the cost effectiveness or the undertaking that this would do to these trucks.
The bill would require side and front underride guards on all new tractor trailers over 10,000 pounds and retrofit those trucks already on the road within 2 years. The guards are not a new idea.
Europe has them, Japan. Why aren't we looking at what they did?
But the United States continues to remain in the slow lane with the safety technology. Even though the group Hammock has joined, Stop Underrides, says more than 4,000 have died in underrides over the last 20 years.
I always think about when I'm driving next to one, how easy it is to go under.
While no one in the trucking industry would go on camera to answer our questions, the Owner-Operator Independent Drivers Association stated in an email that side and front underride guards would be a financial burden on small business truckers, that the guards would make trucking challenging in certain places on the road and at the loading docks.
And we're wasting time.
And more time may be needed following recommendations in this report from the Government Accountability Office. It says right here, improved data collection, inspections, and research needed. Do you think more research is needed?
I think if you're going to make the best quality all the time, you never stop researching. But there's enough proof. The data is there. We have done the test. The engineers approved the test. There are patents out there. I'm not sure what research they want.
All our senators were too busy to go on camera, so we went across state lines for comments on side rail legislation. Or do you think it's just resistance to change? To one of the sponsors on the bill, Senator Richard Blumenthal from Connecticut.
Aaron and Jordan might well be alive today. Literally hundreds of lives are lost because of the lack of underrail guards on the sides of trucks. They belong there, just as they're on the back now.
Senator Blumenthal says he's seen enough to vote for the guards, which range from $1,500 to $3,000.
At minimal cost, and the cost is well worth it.
Clearly, the cost for Krista Hammock has been unbearable.
It has to happen with a mandate.
Even more so with every day that passes. Even though for Aaron, Mom is in it for the long haul.
I think she would expect that from me. Anyone who shares this road is at risk. That's why they should care.
So far, a vote on Senate Bill 665 requiring those side rails has not been scheduled. If you have a news tip or a comment on one of our investigations, email us at thereveal@11alive.com.
Next week on The Reveal. In 2019, why is it harder for a black person to become a firefighter or a police officer in Cobb County?
It's always been the elephant in the room. It is absolutely no excuse other than systemic racism.
The shocking numbers The Reveal has uncovered and what Cobb's new public safety director is admitting about the facts.
I mean, what am I going to say? We're still not struggling with that, but I do believe that what we need is a definite plan of action, a strategy.
The problem, the solution, next Sunday at 6.
You've been watching the now Emmy-nominated Reveal, a show dedicated to impact investigation.
We'll see you next week. Thanks for joining us.